On a U.S. Army uniform, the shoulder sleeve insignia, worn on the left arm, indicates the unit the service member is currently assigned to. The one on the right is the unit the soldier served in combat with. There's a history represented by these shoulder patches that soldiers wear. Every one of these narratives promotes esprit de corps and provides a connection for the soldier to the legacy of their unit. Hi, I'm Jim Bromley, and this is the Roving Historian channel. In this video, we'll look at the story of the Blackhorse Regiment, the 11th Armored Cavalry in Vietnam. Sorry to stop the video, but I felt compelled to share that I served with the Blackhorse for 3 years during the 1980s while the regiment was based in Fulda, West Germany. Yep, that's me right there. Do you know, some of my high school students didn't believe that was me. Well, we provided defense and deterrence as the covering force for 5th Corps while also patrolling the East German border. I like to think that we were instrumental in bringing the Cold War to an end. To me, the unit's history mattered. Part of the pride of wearing that shoulder patch was the reputation the regiment had both currently and what others had done in the past. Our plans are to make a series of these videos, but I had to start with the 11th Cav. The 11th ACR developed a reputation as an almost legendary fighting force during the Vietnam War. The regiment, first deployed in 1966, won 14 battle streamers and had 3 of its troopers win Medals of Honor. It was during Vietnam that the regiment was granted authorization to wear its distinctive Blackhorse shoulder patch. On September 7, 1966, the Blackhorse Regiment made an amphibious landing at Vung Tau, South Vietnam, with 3,762 troopers. After establishing their base camp, the regiment began reconnaissance and force operations directed at suspected concentrations of Viet Cong forces in the provinces around Saigon. Skeptics questioned whether armor could be effective in the jungles of Vietnam. However, the regiment developed innovative tactics, techniques, and procedures that established a reputation as a relentless fighting unit. The regiment's slogan was, "Find the bastards, then pile on." During the infamous Tet Offensive of January 1968, the regiment was ordered to move into the Bien Hoa and Long Binh areas to restore security. The Blackhorse made a night move of 80 miles through contested areas in only 14 hours after receiving the initial alert notice. During this time, the regiment added the Arrow Rifle Platoon to its air cavalry troop. Sometimes referred to as the Blues Platoon for their radio call sign, this air mobile unit was often sent to search for and destroy suspected enemy in areas accessible only by air. Another Blackhorse innovation in Vietnam was to form a troop that used modified M113 armored personnel carriers that could be airlifted by C-130 aircraft. This troop, outfitted with the Armored Cavalry Assault Vehicle, or ACAV, could pull out of combat in the morning and re-engage the enemy at a different location in the country by evening. On May 1, 1970, the 11th ACR was braced to be the spearhead of the American incursion into Cambodia. The plan of this offensive was to finally destroy the North Vietnamese sanctuaries across the border in an area referred to as the Fish Hook. The target area was prepared by massive B-52 airstrikes. The Blackhorse led the way for the 1st Cavalry Division, 25th Infantry Division, and several Army of Vietnam, or ARVN, units. The Blackhorse penetrated more than 60 miles into Cambodia to capture the town of Snool. The Cambodian incursion was the last unrestrained offensive of U.S. ground forces during the Vietnam War. The capture and destruction of tons of enemy weapons and supplies left the enemy devastated and unable to mount an effective offensive for some time. The result was a smoother transition of responsibility for the war to the South Vietnamese military as the American combat forces continued to withdraw. The 2nd Squadron was the last element of the regiment to leave Vietnam, fighting as a separate combat command until the end of March 1972, thus bringing to a close the Blackhorse's 5.5 years of service in Vietnam. The regiment went home from the toughest, most agonizing conflict that has ever engaged American soldiers overseas. They lost a total of 768 of their fellow troopers during their time in Vietnam, and 5,761 were wounded. 3 11th ACR troopers were awarded the Medal of Honor, 2 of which were posthumous. The regiment earned 14 battle streamers and secured their reputation as one of the Army's elite units. Today, the 11th Armored Cavalry Regiment is arguably the best trained mechanized unit in the world, the standard to which other maneuver units are measured. The regiment is currently stationed at Fort Irwin, California, serving as the opposing force, or OP4, at the National Training Center, living their motto of Allons, which means, let's go. If you'd like to read a nonfiction book about the 11th ACR in Vietnam, I have a great recommendation for you. Blackhorse Riders by Philip Keith. This book tells the true story of Alpha Troop, 1st of the 11th Armored Cavalry, who rescued a surrounded infantry unit, Charlie Company, 1st of the 8th of the 1st Cavalry Division, not a mechanized unit. This fight occurred in Vietnam on March 26, 1970. Alpha Troop undertook the daring rescue mission, moving their vehicles through 4 kilometers of dense jungle terrain to save their fellow Americans, who were encircled and outnumbered 6-1. 30 years after, efforts to recognize their heroism culminated in a presidential unit citation awarded by President Obama in 2009. An Amazon affiliate link to Blackhorse Riders is in the description. If you enjoyed this unit history, I hope you'll hit the like button and subscribe to see more. And never hesitate to rate, review, and share what you enjoyed reading. Thanks for watching.